What's up, everybody? It's GoblinX, and welcome to my very first draft of Zendikar Rising. Now, this is part of the Early Access event, so I want to make sure to thank Wizards of the Coast for the Early Access account and all of the gems and cards that I will be using within all of these videos for the next coming days. So, without further ado, as soon as the 8th slot readies up for this draft, let's see what this draft format's like. Alright, ooh, and we opened up a cool rare. Really early on in the draft formats, I tend to just roll with the cool cards, just so I can play with all of the rares and uncommons and stuff, and really get a feel for everything. So I like to play with the stuff that's hardest to open first, because they're the cards that I'm less likely to play with as often, and Grakmaw seems really cool. 1 a black and a green for a 0/0, but he enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on him. So basically enters as a 3-mana 3/3. Whenever another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, you put another counter onto Grakmaw, and when Grakmaw dies, you get to create an XX black and green Hydra token, where X is the number of counters on it. So completely by itself, it's a 3-mana 3/3 that spits out another 3/3 when it dies. That's already pretty nice, and if you have a +1/+1 counter theme in your deck, that thing can get really crazy really fast. So we're going to start with Grakmaw. We'd love to wheel something like a Deadly Alliance, or even a Scale the Heights doesn't seem that insane, but it does put a +1/+1 counter on a thing, it draws a card, does a bunch of stuff, and also combos with Grakmaw a little bit. So we'll see what we get past here. In green and black, we have Zoff Consumption. 6 mana, each opponent loses 4 life and you gain 4 life. The main power of this card, and all of the cards that have a land on the back of them, is the fact that you can play them instead of like your 18th land, and then you're more likely to not flood out and not get mana screwed, because this card counts as both a land or a spell, depending on whichever one you need. So if you draw this in the late game and you have a bunch of mana extra, you can cast Zoff Consumption. If you draw this in the early game, you can just play it as a land. So neither halves of this card are that powerful, but together they fill a nice role in your deck. Now these other green cards are pretty basic. I guess the Dauntless Survivor does combo well with Grakmaw, and I only have 19 seconds left, and I probably should have read these cards a lot sooner, but I wanted to go in somewhat blind to this format, so I'm just gonna lock in the first card that I saw that works pretty well with what we have and probably roll with that. And I think that seems fine. None of these other cards seem that powerful. Like, really, Dauntless Survivor doesn't seem that much worse than anything else in there. By himself, he's a 2-mana 2/2 that has +1/+1 counter synergy, and that seems pretty fine. Oh no. Ruin Crab? I know what that card does, and I do love Mill, and seeing that third pick makes me feel like Mill might be open. It is really early in the format, so even I don't know if Mill is a viable strategy, but there are a lot of cards in the set that say stuff that has to do with Mill. I have seen that, because I do care about Mill enough that I've seen that there's this card that mills your opponent 3 every time you landfall, and there's also like a rare that mills your opponent 8 cards for 2 mana, and there's some other cards that just care about milling your opponent. So I guess the card that would work best with what we have now would be Hagra Constrictor, but Ruin Crab, we might be able to pivot into a mill deck if we see another one of those going late. So I'm going to grab that for now and probably not really focus in on that, but I do like having that option. If Ruin Crab ends up being pretty underdrafted in this, if we can get like 3 of them, we could try to do, I don't know, maybe move into blue-green or blue-black mill, depending on what we end up drafting throughout this pack. So Vanquish the Weak seems pretty fine. 3 mana for an instant, destroy a creature with power 3 or less, and it is in our black-green kind of deck that we were going for initially. Canopy Baloth seems like it could be pretty powerful, though. 4 mana for a 4/3, and whenever a land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So at worst, it's a 4 mana 4/3, and at best, every time you play a land, it's a 4 mana 6/5? That's a really strong attacker. I think I'm still just going to go with the Vanquish the Weak there, though. Just be a little bit safe. That's a card that I know is going to be decent no matter what, whereas the Canopy thing, I'm not 100% on. This pack is weird. This set is weird. I'm going to have to get used to this for sure, but that's what these early access videos are all about. I'll make sure to have them all titled in a separate playlist. so that when I actually get a grasp on this format and I start doing drafts where I think I know what I'm doing, that will be apparent in the videos. So I just want to make sure anybody watching right now knows this is my literal first time seeing a lot of the cards in the set, and 100% my first time drafting it. So yeah, I guess I'll just kind of stick to this whole green-black shenanigans thing going on. I haven't seen anything that's really pushing me into any other colors, but I also am not 100% for sure what like the super power cards are here, but none of these look like it. I mean, there's a white-black land, 3/3 that gives stuff like +1/+1, a little 2/2 flyer. I think I'm just going to take another green or black card here. However, Skyclave Sentinel seems fine. 3 mana, 2/3. I can play this no matter what colors I'm in, which is what draws me to it a little bit, even if I end up having to pivot into something else. And it's a 3 mana, 2/3 flying defender, and then if you kick it, it's a 7 mana, 4/5 flyer. So both of those are fine for the cost. And when you put them together, it's kind of like another split card, which seems cool. So we have Kaza Royal Chaser, another rare here. Blue and a red. For a 1/2 flying haste, you can tap it. The next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of wizards you control. Okay. Or we have a 3 mana 2/1 flash flying, have your opponent mill 2, or a 1 mana 1/1 death touch. I guess I'll throw in a little flash flyer into this deck. That could trick somebody out a little bit. And it also works in a mill deck. If we do try to do the Ruin Crab thing, we could move to blue-black here. Now, what does this thing do? Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard, put a counter on it, tap it, remove all counters from it, deal that much damage to a creature. That is a card you really have to draft around. Instant, sorcery, heavy wizard deck for that. These cards seem all okay. I think I'm going to take the thing that mills people. Just keep the blue-black mill dream open. We did wheel the Scale the Heights. This is 3 mana for a sorcery. You put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, you gain 2 life, you play an additional land, and you draw a card. All those effects are pretty minor, but I think if you stack them all together, that seems pretty decent. We do have a little bit of a +1/+1 counter theme with our Grakmaw. Spare Supplies seems like it might be a decent pick, though. I mean, 2 mana, draw a card, and then you can pay 2 mana and sacrifice it and draw a card at any other point. That seems like the kind of card that could easily just fit into any deck as your 23rd card. Just a random little card to fill out the deck. These cards all seem okay. Coom Hellhound seems like a pretty cool aggressive card, but I don't really want to pivot into that. I'll just take the colorless card again. Drana's Silence, that's just so much mana. 6 mana for a 3/2, and you really need to have a party ready to do a lot with it. Right now we have a warrior, a rogue. We have 2 warriors and a rogue in green-black, so I don't know how often we're going to be getting that much of a minus ability out of that 6 mana card there. And the Disenchant and Cleansing Wildfire seem pretty situational for limited, so we'll just take the creature, and I will just take the Chilling Trap. And another Kazandu Nectar Pot. So what have we opened up here? Shatter Skull Smashing. 2 red and X. It deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and/or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, it deals twice X damage divided as you choose among them instead. So for 6 mana, you do 2 damage to 2 things. For 7 mana, that'd be the same. For 8 mana, that's when you're getting 6 damage to 2 things. Because at 8 mana, you spend 2 red and then 6 more. That means X is 6 or more, so you're doing 12 divided to 2 things. I guess it is divided as you choose. That seems incredibly powerful. Yeah, I'll probably do that. Vastwood Surge seems cool. 4 mana, search for 2 basic lands, put on the battlefield tapped. If you kick it, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. There's too many cool cards. There's too many cool cards, and we're too early into the format for me to really know what I'm doing here. Vastwood Fortification, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, or just play it as a land. That could work out. Reclaim the Wastes, grabs land, so that can help splash things. So if we try to splash Shatter Skull Smashing, we could just grab a couple Reclaim the Wastes or something. I would really like to wheel that green spell that searched for lands and put them into play tapped, the one that would put counters on if you kicked them. Because if I wheel that, that would be perfect for just Jund +1/+1 counters with a Shatter Skull Smashing at the top end. This Gnarlid Colony is like another +1/+1 counter build around though, so I'm gonna pick that up. Just try all the +1/+1 counter synergy and have a Shatter Skull Smashing for fun? I don't know, for value. Territorial Scythe Cat, 3 mana 2/1. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. I like that a lot, because if that survives for a long game, that can be very large. So we have that. We also have Ghouldra's Mucklord, which also works with +1/+1 counters. When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and it's a 2/3 for 3. Ooh, Lithoform Blight, though, that helps you splash. 2 mana, you draw a card, and you turn one of your lands into a land that can tap for a mana of any color. That's pretty cool. I'm going to try that out, because it's the rarest card in the pack, and I do want to splash that big red scary card. Now we have Bala Ged Recovery, return a card from your graveyard to your hand, or play as a land. 2 mana 2/2 with Death Touch if you have a rogue. A 5 mana spell to deal 4 to a creature. X to the creature's controller, where X is the number of creatures in your party. So basically 5 mana for 4 to a creature. And then some nonsense. So I guess it's between like Synchronized Spellcraft and Bala Ged Recovery. I'm going to go with Bala Ged Recovery just because red is definitely a splash here. But I do like that instant there. 5 mana instant speed, 4 to a creature is not bad and limited. And if you have creatures in your party, you're doing some damage to your opponent's face as well. I think I'll be taking a Reclaim the Wastes here. But Blood Price looks like a decent draw spell as well. 4 mana to look at the top 4, put 2 into your hand, rest on bottom, and you lose 2 life. I'm just going to take the Reclaim the Wastes. I think at this point I have a ton of mana fixing. Let's see, we got 1. Maybe I'm vastly overestimating. I think I have 2. Lithoform Blight and Reclaim the Wastes. Yeah, I'm still kind of aching on wheeling that other spell that is pretty unlikely to wheel. So Cinderclasm, deal 1 to each creature or 2 to each creature. Nice. Kind of a wrath against a faster deck. Other than that, a bunch of just decent nonsense. I guess I'll take a big old green Stomper. 6 mana, 6/5, and it picks up some lands so you can redo some landfall triggers. And here we have Dauntless Survivor or Reclaim the Wastes. I'm going to take Dauntless Survivor. I feel like these Reclaim the Wastes will probably go pretty late in a lot of these. And I have seen a lot of ramp spells. Roiling Regrowth, 3 mana, sacrifice a land, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So there's another one. We can just pick that up, and then we've got another mana fixing spell. We did not wheel the uncommon green one that if you kick it puts +1/+1 counters onto something, so that is unfortunate, but we can just take a Dreadworm here because that's an incredible name, if nothing else. 5 mana for 5/4. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, gains indestructible till end of turn. Pretty cool. We did wheel another Reclaim the Wastes, so it's that or a Broken Wings or Oblivion's Hunger. I guess that kind of works in a +1/+1 counter deck, but it doesn't seem that crazy powerful. I also just don't tend to run a lot of combat trick type cards. I guess we'll take the Fling, that's also a land, but that's kind of a nombo because we're trying to search up our basic mountains with cards like Reclaim the Wastes and Roiling Regrowth, so we're not super likely to play that red card. Well, yeah, these are pretty whatever. I guess I'll grab Broken Wings, grab the black card, and let's move on to the final. Last pick, Cinderclasm? That seems wrong. Are people drafting like really slow decks? because I feel like this card could potentially just be so good against an aggro deck. Maybe just everybody that's drafting red is playing aggro, so they don't want to destroy a lot of their own creatures. But yeah, like 3 mana instant, 2 damage to each creature, that could be a 2 or 3 for 1 pretty easily. Soul Shatter, 3 mana. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Well, 3 mana instant speed, kill the most expensive thing your opponent has, seems pretty good. So I'm just going to scoop that up right now. Oh my god. Rewarded. Rewarded. Another rare black card. This one destroys a creature for 4 mana, or you can play it as a land if you really need to. So it's just a decent removal spell that can also be used as a land if you are stuck on mana. Brushfire Elemental seems pretty cool. Little red-green elemental thing. It's got like lava spewing everywhere. Deadly Alliance seems pretty good if we could wheel that, but that seems unlikely. Not actually a lot going on in black or green here, mainly just the Hagra-Mullen. Oh, it's the big old crab! It's this 4 mana 0/17. Well, we're very far from playing that, because we're already not playing blue, and this wants you to play a ton of islands to be really powerful. But that is a really cool card. I suppose I'll take this Hagra Constrictor. All of our +1/+1 counter creatures can have Menace now. This pack's not crazy. Blood Beckoning seems fine, I guess. 1 mana return a creature, 4 mana return 2. Blood Price is a draw spell. I may have enough mana fixing that I just want to splash Synchronized Spellcraft, but I guess the argument against that would be I just took a Soul Shatter and a Hagra-Mullen, so I also just have good removal. I guess I'll pick up like a Blood Price. Mind Carver. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control. Creature gets +1/+0 and +3/+1 instead if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. That's not likely to happen. I did not end up living the mill dream after taking that Ruin Crab. I got so excited for like nothing. Let's cut these blue cards now, because there's no more mill cards in any of these packs that we've seen. Of course, I say that now. There's this card will mill your opponent 3 every time it does combat damage to a player. But yeah, we're definitely not in blue. We're not in that mill plan anymore. So we could pick up another Scale the Heights. Interesting card. A bunch of little things, but maybe stacked up it's pretty powerful. Or we could take another one of these Gargoyle things, or another Vanquish the Weak. I'll just roll with the auto picker on the Vanquish the Weak. I'm going to assume that Wizards of the Coast knows better than I do. They're like, you probably want Vanquish the Weak. Because I'm kind of just rolling around right now, just having some fun, drafting some nonsense. I'm actually going to take the Sakum Warrior thing now. Because that seems like something I'd actually play in here. I'll just throw that in as my only non-mountain red source, because, like, this is one that's actually good if you draw it late game or early game. If you draw it early game, you play it as land. If you draw it late game, 6 mana, 4/5 trample. Sure, it's below the curve, but it prevents you from flooding out, and that I do like. And then that pack was really easy. I could just get to take the red-green dual land. That could go very well in our deck. And let's see, 5 mana, 5/4, gain 3 life. 2 mana, look at top 5 per creature. If you don't, you draw a card. I don't think I'm going to be playing any of the rest of the cards I pick up here. Do get another Skyclave Sentinel. It's a good late game +1/+1 counter card. I could take another land that is also a spell. This one is such a small spell, though. My favorite of these cards that are a land or a non-land spell are the ones that the non-land spell is like a very high mana cost, decently high impact card. The ones like this, like, I mean, 1 damage, that's not very high impact, but is better than a land if you draw it at the wrong time. Alright, I need to cut a lot of cards out of this deck. So I'm not going to run a 51 card deck. First of all, let's put our lands on the very right. Our cards that are lands and spells. So we have 4, we have 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 17. So we have 22 cards that we could play as lands right now, but the thing is, I don't think we ever want to play Shatter Skull Smashing as a land. I think we always want to just play that. So I don't think we actually just cut 5 lands here. We probably just cut 3 or 4. So I could cut... I do still want... I want 2 mountains, so I'll cut 1 mountain. 1 swamp. And I feel like I might cut another swamp and start cutting some black cards. So this would leave us with 4, 5, 6, plus 7. That's 13 just straight up lands. And then 5 cards we can play as a land if we need to. So that'd be 18 cards that work as land, 5 of which enter the battlefield tapped. I feel like Hagra Mauling, that's another one we would almost never want to play as a land, though. That would just be a last resort kind of thing. So I'd probably put that swamp back in, I guess. Alright, so this would be... We have 19 cards that we can play as lands. The flip card thing is so confusing to figure out how many lands you're going to want to do. So that's something that I think we'll definitely figure out as things go on. But I think this is a fine place to start here. So now I just need to cut 9 cards. So we'll cut Utility Knife. We'll cut these Kazandu Nectar Pots. Cut this random mill card. Marauder Brute, I mean that's a 3 mana, 3/3 doesn't do a whole lot. I don't know about the Scale of Heights, I'll cut them for now. I like that Skyclave Sentinel works as just a 3 mana drop to protect us from opposing flyers or a late game. Somewhat of a bomb, really. I mean, a 7 mana 4/5 flyer is a bomb. Need to cut 1 more card, and then we've basically got a deck. Maybe I actually just cut the Spike Field Hazard. Because that definitely seems like our weakest flip card. Because Balagad Recovery, it works the same way as a Coom Warrior, in my opinion, where this would be a really good draw in the late game. So it really helps you out. In the very early game, you play it as land, and then in the very late game, it's good as well. I guess the problem is neither of these cards are good in the mid game. But yeah, I mean, this seems pretty great late game. Late game, we just play Balagad Recovery, pick back Grakmaw, or pick up Hagra Mauling or something from our grave. I'm going to leave Spikefield Hazard in and just cut a 3-drop because I have so many of them right now. Just cut a Vanquish the Weak, maybe? Or I could just cut one of these Turn Timber Rangers. I guess I have 2 of those. Yeah, again, not 100% sure what I'm doing, but that is part of the fun in these early access events and just in when the sets first come out in general. Learning a draft format it could be a really weird experience because you can often just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm not sure what's happening. But as you play more and more drafts and you start to get a handle of things, that experience is quite fun. So this may be the most awkward draft of Zendikar Rising I ever do. I would hopefully hope that it is. But you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that, just because it's got no black, and I'll keep this one. I forgot to look back at my mana base to see what I should be... to see if I should have cut more forests for swamps or anything after I cut all my non-land cards. That's something you really need to do. Oh my god, is this a Zendikar board? Oh, this looks weird. This is very interesting. So we'll start with a Dauntless Survivor as a 2-mana 2/2 and then follow up with a Grakmaw. So if our Dauntless Survivor dies, our Grakmaw will be a 3/3? I guess I could follow up with a Hagra Constrictor and just send in with 2 Menace damage, but I'd rather start with Grakmaw. Then I can play my Menace card next turn and I can actually attack with both of them. So our opponent is on white-black. Did have a Sajiri Shelter they played as a Sajiri Glacier. Two Mesa Links. 2-mana 2/1. As long as it's not your turn, it's a 2/3 instead. So, I mean, Vanquish Fluik can get those things out of the way, at least. If I play Hagra Constrictor, they will have Menace, but they can just double block one then. So I guess I could play that, and then next turn I can use one of my removal spells. We'll see what our opponent has here. Relic Vial. Sacrifice a creature to draw a card. As long as you control a relic, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses life and you gain a life. Or as long as you control a cleric. Did I say relic? Probably. Alright, interesting. I'll just start off with a Vanquish the Weak, and then I can menace through with everybody. Don't have enough blockers for anything. Down to 13. So probably white-black clerics then. If they're playing something like that. That or they just have a lot of sacrificial fodder. There's a Lithiform Blight to draw a card, and then I can use whatever land I throw that onto as a red source. I kind of want to just Hagra Mauling right now, because then I get in for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm out of removal if I do that, but I get in for a lot of damage with a bunch of menace creatures on the board, which should make it really hard for them to survive next turn, because now they're down to 6. If they play one more blocker, they take 4 and go to 2. Yeah, so now they have to just double block Grakmaw. Then I'm hitting them for 4 and I get a 3/3 token out of it. I guess I can reclaim the wastes. Or just play a Muck Lord. Yeah, I attack with everybody. They double block Grakmaw. Oh, they're going to double block the thing that gives menace? Okay. Suppose that is smarter. I'll go ahead and kill the 3/2, because that's the only thing I can kill. That'll put another counter onto Grakmaw, making him a 4/4. I'll just go ahead and play another creature here. I could reclaim the wastes and just not kick it for a single mountain, but I think I'll just wait. Rather be able to double mountain off that in case I draw my mythic red card. And that scoops him up. So our first game is a victory. The green-black deck with the really weird red splash worked out in the first game, but we didn't draw any of our weird red stuff. So that's fine. We didn't really get to see how wonky our mana base is there for sure. Which reminds me that I do need to double check if I just cut a bunch of black cards or a bunch of green cards. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 black, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 green. So we have equal amounts of green and black, but we have 2 Reclaim the Wastes at 1 mana, which can search for a swamp, and a Roiling Regrowth at 3, so we have 3 green cards at 3 mana or less that can grab a black source. I think that the mana's fine as it is. I guess the Timber Crown pathway is another green source as well, so that'd be 8 green versus 5 black. And we have Balagad Recovery as a green source. Yeah, maybe one more swamp. I don't know. I feel like our green has all of our fixing, so I just really want to make sure I have that green. I'm gonna leave it as is. I don't know. Let's just hop into our second round of Zendikar Rising. Alright, oh no, is this one of the games I actually just play this as Hagra Brood Pit? If I do that, this hand's keepable. Oh no. Alright, this might be that. I might even just reclaim the waste for a swamp here instead. I'm actually gonna do that. I'm sorry, our red mythic. I want to actually cast a Hagra Mauling because that card is just so good. So we're playing against red-green. Red-green seems to have a big landfall synergy with like that Cinderglade elemental kind of guy. We did draw Lithiform Blight, so we drew some more mana fixing, so it's not the end of the world. It's like it'll be impossible to cast red cards. They can discard a card to draw a card. They did not do that. Okay. Just play a 2/2. Go ahead and trade. And there's another Fisher Wizard. That one discarded a Rabid Bite. Hey, I am 100% down with that. They discarded a bit of a removal spell to draw. So maybe they're stuck on lands trying to hit a 4th off of that draw. They did hit a 4th land. Jiraga Visionary. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and it's a 4-mana 3/2. Pretty nice card. Ooh, that's awkward. That makes me feel bad about just immediately trading our +1/+1 counter creatures, but there's the one Grakma in our deck. Very awkward to play him after trading the counter creatures, but it is what it is. Sending in the Visionary. I don't have anything that combos with Grakma right now, so I'll just trade and make a 3/3 token. Seems fine. There's a Gnarlid Colony Kicked as a 4/4. Do have a 5/4 once I hit 5 mana. I could Hagra Mauling and just kill that right now, or I can just Blood Price for lands. I think I'll do that, because I have Dreadmaw and Turntimber Ranger. I will take the Swamp, and I'll take the biggest card. Ooh, Soul Shatter probably. Gnarlid Colony would be a 5-mana 4/4, but Soul Shatter can kill my opponent's biggest thing. I do already have 2 5-mana large creatures, so I'll take the Soul Shatter there. Take the more defensive card. Goma Fada Vanguard. 2/2, whenever it attacks, target creature and opponent controls with power less than or equal to the number of warriors you control can't block this turn. Okay, interesting card. Kind of just a 2-mana 2/2 right now, but it does stop me from chump blocking if I had a bunch of Sapperling tokens or something. I'm actually 1 mana away from the Akum Warrior with the Lithiform Blight. That makes it very doable. I think let's just drop a Turntimber Ascetic, ready to trade that for their 4/4. Send in with the 3/3. I think I can definitely trade here, because I feel like I have more cards in hand. Oh, if they just Rabid Bite, then I suppose I trade for a Rabid Bite. Ooh, there we go. There's a red source just naturally. I can just cast a 4/5 and I could potentially block without even trading. That would be very nice. So this might just stop them from attacking at all here. If they send in, I think it's very likely they have some form of pump spell or removal. I'm still going to block if they send in, because it could be that they have like another Rabid Bite, in which case I'd be trading with the Gnarlid Colony, and they'd have to use Rabid Bite with the 2/2 sending that 2 damage to the warrior. I think I'm still just going to block here, whatever they do, if they send in. Oh, they have the Shatter Skull Smashing as well. Did it for exactly 5 to kill our boy. Well, I'm going to have 7 mana here, which is not enough to play a creature and a Soul Shatter, so I could do Soul Shatter, Lithiform Blight, and save up Hagra Mauling, though, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, what kind of math am I doing? All right, let's stop. Let's stop with the dumb math. I can basically Lithiform Blight and Soul Shatter or Hagra Mauling. How worried am I about Planeswalkers? I'm kind of worried. I don't know. I'm just going to Hagra Mauling and I'll save the Soul Shatter for a Planeswalker, if that ever happens. And we'll throw a Lithiform Blight onto a Swamp. Oh, and I drew my Shatter Skull Smashing. I can smash the Smasher. I do have to wait till they play another creature for that, though. Just drop down a Dreadworm, then. Should have tapped differently there. I should have tapped the Lithiform Blight for a colorless for Dreadworm to save a green up so I could use the green to grab a mountain. That way I could cast Shatter Skull Smashing without damaging myself off of the pay 1 life to get a mana of any color. What is this? Each time it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's pretty good. We're definitely sending in the Shatter Skull Smashing then. Just clear their board here. This does not do any damage to players, right? Okay, well, I guess we're going to Soul Shatter instead, because this is a removal spell for Dreadworm, for sure. But I can't just let that through, because if they have a +3/+3, I just die. Which there is definitely a +3/+3 spell. We've seen it already. And I did just naturally draw the mountain that I would have Reclaimed the Wastes for. So that's pretty spicy. I feel like I might just want to Soul Shatter here. I feel like I just want to Soul Shatter here and save Shatter Skull Smashing for later. Because maybe I can get them into a position where they play a creature that's smaller than my 3/3 that they don't want to attack with until they play another creature. And then I can still get a 2-for-1 off Shatter Skull Smashing. If they have a haste creature, though, we would rather have had Soul Shatter than Shatter Skull Smashing. So hopefully not a haste creature coming up. There is a 3/3. Ooh, and there is that Skyclave Sentinel going to come in as a very large flyer. 4/5 flying, no defender. That is going to get in for some lethal damage very soon. There's another creature. So we can do the Shatter Skull Smashing for potentially win here. Just go, how much mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll do 9. 9 to each. Alright, that was a big old smash, and lethal. Alright, lethal. No fogs or anything. We're gonna win that game as well. I don't know. This may be a little early to tell, but I'm feeling a little more confident about this ridiculous mana base here. Because we cast several red spells there. We cast several Reclaim the Wastes. Really good mana that game. And that is 2 wins and no losses now. With Golgari splashing red. Basically junding him out. That's close enough. See what we can do in our third game here. I do want to play against a mill deck. I want to play against a mill deck at least once in this event. I want to see how good mill is in the format, since it is a potential strategy. Hand is pretty awkward. We do really need black mana. We do have a Dauntless Survivor on turn 2. We have 3 mana if we play a Shatter Skull Smashing as a land instead. I only have 1 castable card here. I think I have to mulligan this. Oh my god. I shouldn't have said anything about the mana, but I'm going to keep this one. I've got a Lithiform Blight and 3 mana here. We'll get rid of the Dreadworm for now. We drew both our mountains. That's incredible. Naturally drew them too. Alright, Seagate Banneret starts it for our opponent. A 1 mana 1/2 with a 5 mana ability to give the whole field +1/+1 until end of turn. Seems like a fine aggressive card, and they're red-white, so we might just get aggroed out here. Our hand is not fantastic against aggressive decks, but we do have a Vanquish the Weak to kill an early game creature, and Hagra Constrictor could potentially block some things. Cliff Haven Sellsword, so they are off to a start. 1 mana 1/2, followed by a 2 mana 3/1. Excuse me. I think I'm going to throw Lithiform Blight onto my mountain. Draw a card. It is another forest. So now my mountain can tap for any color. The only way this works poorly for me is if I draw my 1 double red spell and I have to lose 1 life to play it. But I'm probably just going to die before that happens anyway, because now here's an axe that just immediately becomes equipped. If it's a warrior, it gets +2/+1 instead, and it equips for only 2 mana, and their whole field, well, not their whole field, but a lot of their creatures are warriors. Oh boy. It's turn 3. It's turn 3, and I'm facing quite the field. This is definitely the old school kind of Zendikar deck you would see. Thinking about Vanquish the Weaking the Sellsword, but if I do that, Hagra Constrictor can't really trade with the Seagate Banneret. So maybe I just... My problem is if I Vanquish the Weak the Banneret, they can just move the equipment to the Sellsword. I'm just going to play the Hagra Constrictor, because then I have a blocker that trades with Sellsword. And then I Vanquish the Weak the Banneret, and then if they move the equipment to Sneaking Guide, that's not as bad as moving the equipment elsewhere. Oh my god. Alright. Now I've gotten blown out by a pump spell. This is your pretty standard limited aggro deck. I'm pretty sure we're just dead now. Oops. Well, I don't know what happened there. Grakma. They've got 1 card in hand now, so I just play Grakma and trade with something and then try to block again with the 3/3 token. If they play a land, that's super bad for me, because then they get to use the Banneret's ability. But if they don't play a land, that means they have non-land cards in their hand, which means they have more gas, which is also bad and scary. I don't like it. I don't like any of this, any of what's going on here. This is very reminiscent of original triple Zendikar drafts, though. Let's try to trade with the Banneret and see what happens. Okay, a removal spell. I take 4, down to 5. move the equipment to the Cell Sword. Now it's a 5/2. I have 5 mana, so I can only cast 1 spell yet again. I'm either Vanquish the Weaking or playing a 2/3 Flying Defender. Either way, I'm trading one of my cards for one of their attackers, but if I play the 2/3 Flying Defender, if they don't have any more gas in their hand, maybe they don't attack with Sneaking Guide. Next turn I get to play a 4/5 if I survive. My way to survive would be to block their Vanquish the Banneret, and then they just have a Sneaking Guide out. Yeah, I think I'll just go for Vanquish the Weak, because then if I survive, I think that line would lead me the closest to victory, because then next turn I get to play a Coom Warrior as a 4/5, and then the turn after that I get to play this as a 4/5, and then I just have massive creatures. Like, I think I'm very likely to just die this turn either way I play. But this way leaves me with a slightly better follow-up turns. This is also safer against them doing that. They're just trying to hit me for 1? They have not played any... I feel like... I don't want to Vanquish the Weak here and just get blown out, but... Alright. Okay. They're down to a 1/1. That happened. And just a land? Ooh. And a 3/3. That's thick, but they're out of cards. So now I have a 4/5 to trade with their 5/4. So they hit me for 1 this turn, because they equip the War Caller, or the War Leader. It turns into a 5/4, because it is a warrior, so it gets +2/+1. If they drew a cheap removal spell, I'm dead. Scorch Rider, if it was kicked, gains haste until end of turn, and it's a 5/4 naturally. What, because their other warriors get +1/+1, so it's a 4/3 naturally. So 5/4 trade there, they put in equipment there, 5/4 trade there. I mean, I have no other plays here, I don't know, I should have just cast this, I don't know what's taking me so long. That's my only play. We'll see how well it does. If they just throw a Relic Axe on a 5/4, I'm in such a bad spot here now. Because I can't survive without blocking it, which means I have to double block it or chump block it. If I double block it, I take 4 from the rest of their creatures and go to 1. Then I would still have a creature on the board, but they'd have a 1/1 and a 3/3 that could be a 5/4 when equipped. Yeah, they see the line. They saw the play. We'll see if they attack with everybody here. That would be the best play. Because that puts me in such a terrible spot. Oh my god, they just don't even attack? Well, they're giving me time to draw into an out, which I very much enjoy, but if I just draw lands, it's not gonna get there. +1/+0 for each creature in your party. 2 mana 2/3 trample. So it's basically, it's a 2 mana 3/3 trample right now whenever it attacks. Yeah, I think I would have just died if they had just attacked 2 turns in a row. But they didn't know it was in my hand there, so that's fair enough. I'm still in a really bad spot, but the more time they give me to draw into something, the better. Oh, I just died right now. That's unfortunate. Well, that feels pretty bad. We found the aggro deck. And we got a lot closer to stabilizing than I thought we would. Obviously, as I said several turns in a row, I thought I was dead for most of that game. Turns out, I got to live a little while. Got to cast a second gargoyle. Alright. Heading into our next round of this Zendikar Rising Early Access Draft. Sounds not great, but I think it's a keeper. We do have 1 mana of all of our colors. May end up actually playing this Balagad Recovery as a land if I just draw a bunch of non-land stuff. That's a 5-drop. Luckily, I don't really have a turn 3 play, though, so if I draw another non-land card, that's when I will commit and just play Balagad Recovery as a tapped land. Alright. Well, I did draw into a 3-drop now. I don't have a 4-drop, so I can just play this land untapped first, play my 3-drop, and then next turn I'll play Balagad Recovery tapped. But at this point, that's almost definitely happening. I'm gonna have a 5 and a 6. And actually, I didn't even notice the synergy with Kazandu Stomper returning the lands to your hand. You can return a land like Balagad Sanctuary so that you can play Balagad Recovery later. That's really cool. I'm definitely gonna do that when I hit that. Play this land tapped to make sure I can hit my 5-mana card next turn. And they have a 2/3. The only way it can kill my Muck Lord is if they double block, where I get to kill their 2/2 and put my Gnarlid Colony as a 3/3. Get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. No blocks. Okay. I was going to say, alternatively, if they double block, I could use a Vanquish the Weak and kill both their creatures without losing mine. Would like to save it just in case, though, because they are blue and white, so they could have flying creatures or unblockable creatures, any kind of evasive creatures I would love to have Vanquish the Weak ready for. Relic Amulet. So this is the one that gets counters when they cast instant sorceries and wizards, and then they can remove all the counters to do that much to a creature. So I'll need a good bit of counters for a lot of my creatures, especially later in the game. Alright, going to combat. Passing the turn. Alright. Did draw another land. The Spike Field Hazard. I could even just use that to kill the Mesa Lynx, which I probably would do at this point. Just drop my 5-drop. Turn Timber Ascetic, 5/4 and gain 3 life. It's a big boy. And it's countered. Well, what is that? Counter unless they pay 2? Alright. Send in the Muck Lord again. Looks like they just wanted to bounce off each other. Probably should have waited till main phase 2 for the Ascetic. So then I might have been able to get a couple damage in there again. Now they have a Risen Riptide. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, its base power toughness is 5/5 till end of turn. Okay. I have 6 mana. I can cast my Kazandu Stomper now. Pick up my Balagad Sanctuary. Guess I could Vanquish the Weak on the Riptide. If they ever try to kick a spell on me. I think I just play Stomper. I don't really have anything else exciting here. Pick that up. Pick up a... whatever. Pick up both the flip lands. Just in case I need a third green for some reason, I can play that as a green. Uh-oh. Felidar Retreat. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, create a 2/2 beast or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature control and give them vigilance until end of turn. Yikes. That's really good. Landfall for a 2/2 and then landfall to put a counter on everything, including all those 2/2 tokens you got. That seems really powerful. Okay. Got a 6/5 trample right now. I think I'll just play the Pathway, save up Vanquish the Weak and Spiketail Hazard to get ready to clear out some creatures. Definitely need to draw a powerhouse of our own to deal with that Felidar Retreat. We need something like our Shatter Skull gigantic thing. Ooh. I'm actually really happy with that. I would much rather be clearing out some of their creatures than just doing more face damage, because I'm a lot more scared of Felidar Retreat the more creatures they have on the field to put counters on. Alright, another 2/2. Alright, I'm gonna kill the 2/1 with Spiketail Hazard while I still can. And now I actually feel like I'm in a good spot, even with that Felidar Retreat out. Give everything Menace with Hagra Constrictor as well. All my creatures with counters, that is, which is just the Constrictor for now, but in the future that's quite nice. And I'm just going to hold up my Vanquish the Weak again. We can Balagad Recovery later. Nothing here is actually that insanely good right now. Ooh, Living Tempest. Could try to double block and trade here. No. Alright. They're down to 8. I think I'm still saving the Balagad Recovery. If they put a counter on everything... Okay, I was going to say, if they put a counter on everything, I'm going to kill the flyer before it gets 4 power. If they created a token there, I'd probably just sit here still. Ooh, nice. I can give Sandu Stomper Menace now. That was a really good draw. That was actually just fantastic. So they have to block Stomper or they die. They just scoop them up. They accept the damage to face. So that was another good game for Jund counters. We're 1 hour in now. This has been a pretty long draft. What is that? That's 3 wins and 1 loss. Get some more going here. I don't have a whole lot to say here other than that I'm much happier with how this deck has gone than how I thought it would go. I think our 1 loss was against a really good aggressive deck. And a lot of our wins, it seemed like the decks we were playing against were also pretty good. Like that Felidar Retreat and stuff. Like, we're fighting through some things to get these wins. This is another really awkward hand. We have triple black cards. We do have Reclaim the Wastes, though. Turn 1, Reclaim the Wastes for a swamp here, and then we can cast everything, but we don't have any action of our own. We're entirely reactive. Just waiting to destroy creatures with Vanquish the Weak. I'm gonna mulligan this. Ugh. I'll keep this one. I think I'm putting Dreadworm on the bottom again. That's just like always the case. I guess I do. I have 3 lands here. Like, even if I get rid of one, I just Reclaim the Wastes for a swamp immediately. Yeah. I kind of like that. There's a Balagad Recovery. I'm actually just 100% okay with playing that as a land right now. That won't be useful till the very late game, so we may as well. Get our red source out, drop a Dauntless Survivor. Double Expedition Healer, making each other 2 mana 2/2 Vigilance lifelink creatures. That is quite nice. Let's go for Aggro Constrictor. We don't really have any other plays. Probably just trading for another Expedition Healer this time. What? Alright, this is just mono Expedition Healer, the deck. I like it. They do combo well together. Roiling Regrowth or Reclaim the Wastes. If I Reclaim the Wastes, next turn I'm casting Dreadworm. If I Roiling Regrowth, next turn I'm casting Dreadworm. So, I guess it doesn't really matter. Just Reclaim the Wastes kicked, because that costs more. Grab a Swamp and a Forest, because we have double red out already, so we'll make sure we can do double black and triple green. Here's a Dreadworm. And now we can actually cast Roiling Regrowth at instant speed to give Dreadworm indestructible during their turn. So that's a pretty good reason to keep Roiling Regrowth in hand instead of the Reclaim the Wastes. Whenever a Cleric enters the battlefield under control, they gain a life. Whenever they gain life for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Cleric of Life's Bond. So I'd like to have 6 mana here, so I'm just going to play one of these 3 drops so that I have mana for Roiling Regrowth. So we'll just go with the 2/3, slightly better blocker. Definitely better against 2 2/2s. And I think I'll actually just attack here. Hit them for 5. There's no way they block. Skyclave Apparition. Oh, that's horrible. When it enters the battlefield, exile a non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. Oh, I guess it doesn't hit my 5/4. I thought this would exile anything. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX where X is the converted mana cost. So they exile my Ghoul-Draz Mucklord, and they get to hit me for 2 lifelink. That's pretty bad, because that throws a counter onto the Cleric of Life's Bond, turns it into a 3/3. Not what I like to see. Hagra Mauling, though. Now I can just kill that Cleric. I can do it at instant speed, too, so I could also just instant speed kill the Skyclave. Get a 3/3. I guess I play a land, I get to save 4 mana up here. Oh, I don't get to save any black mana up if I cast Hagra Constrictor, because I only have 2 black. Or I don't get to save enough up, so if I want a Hagra Mauling, I have to do it right now. I guess I'll Hagra Constrictor and just pass the turn. Roiling Regrowth as my trick here. This will hopefully get them to just not attack, which allows me to wait until I have the double black up for Hagra Mauling during their turn. Actually, in that case, I probably should have just not played the land, saved it to give Indestructible on a turn that I would be deciding to attack, but I didn't realize that I was just not going to. Alright. Lithiform Blight. Not bad at all. We will turn one of my forests into a mana of any color. Because I have 3 green sources, it's more than anything else. Draw a card. It is a swamp. They got a lot of creatures out. I think I'm actually just not attacking now. For like a while. So I'm not going to play the land just in case I want a landfall trigger later. Tazim Raptor. They get to pick up a land when they play it for landfall abilities, like Prowling Felidar. That'll get a +1/+1 counter every time they play land, and it's a 2/3 Vigilance already, so it'll be a 3/4 Vigilance. Get very large very quickly. I feel like this is going to be another long game. This will be quite a long video overall. I'll make sure to have timestamps for every round, so you can skip around as you please. And I believe YouTube does the thing where it cuts them off in the little time scroll bar, so you can see exactly where each round is. So that should help a lot for this more long-form video. Okay, I don't like that they have a flying lifelink now, because that'll just keep making the cleric bigger. Just go to my turn. Hey, that'll stop it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. There we go. Attack through that with your little flyer. I think that's just going to summon another removal spell from him. Yep. Another counter on the cleric. Flyers are just going to keep getting in because I'm just going to draw some lands. At this point, maybe I just Roiling Regrowth to put less lands in my deck, because if I flood anymore, I'm going to be very dead. Yeah, I think I just go land, pass turn, get ready to Roiling Regrowth, and just do it in the end step. Just not even try to get that instant speed indestructible anymore. I mean, that'd be lovely if they attacked this turn. With the non-flyers, that is. They just keep poking at me with the flyers. I don't have any recourse. I could kill the 2/2 flyer, I guess, but then the Cleric of Life's Blood is still just a huge problem. Because then the 1/1 is going to keep putting counters on it. Maybe I just kill the 1/1. I feel so bad. I don't know. That's so dumb. Just killing the 1/1. On a 6-turn clock. Take 2. Now I have 5 turns to live. More likely for 3, because whenever they attack with everybody. Turn a card and a Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, or Wizard from grave to hand. So that just returns a bunch of things from grave to hand. That seems really nice. Alright, so they're returning... Wait, to the battlefield? To the battlefield? Jesus, that is really good. Return 2 creatures from your grave to the battlefield for 6 mana maximum. That's so good. Alright, well, I'm just getting brutalized by that. I was already going to lose, but... Oh my god. That was a spicy card. Well, there's Soul Shatter. That'll get them to kill the 4 mana card. And that's something. I'm so dead, though. Very nice Cleric deck. Really cool deck, too. Lifelink synergies are pretty crazy. And that is exact lethal. Well, I think that one was alright. Our opponent had a really nice deck, and we did get flooded a lot. Our opponent did get mana screwed in the early game, so it was kind of even in that way. But wow, that's I don't even remember what it was called, but that 6 mana return 2 things from grave card is like, that's insane. It wasn't even that insane in that game. It returned some pretty small creatures, so it's not like it was super crazy in that situation. I just think that card overall seems incredibly good. Got 3 lands here. No black sources. Oh. So, like, at least I could just do Skyclave, Sentinel, and Gnarlid Colony. I think I'm gonna keep this. Hey, it all worked out perfectly. Start with a mountain so I can save up the Spike Field Hazard. Send out the Gnarlid Colony. Nice little 2-mana 2/2. Our opponent responds to an Oran Reef Ooze. Think I'm just gonna kill that before it starts getting a bunch of +1/+1 counters. I'll send in for 2. When it follows up with a Skyclave Shadowcat. It's a 3/3. They can sacrifice another creature to put a counter on it, and whenever a creature they control with a counter on it dies, they draw a card. Interesting. Let's drop our Grakma. Pretty nice drop. And yeah, might as well. Might as well send in here. I feel like they probably won't block, but if they do, I'd be willing to trade up into this. Or trade down into it, trade 2 cards for the 1. No blocks. Got him. That is what I was much more hoping would happen, but I would have accepted the trade with the Spikefield Hazard. There's a Halgar Constrictor, so our opponent is playing a very similar deck, definitely a +1/+1 counter black-green deck with that Oran Reef Ooze. Got 5 mana now, we're 2 mana away from kicking Skyclave Sentinel, so I'm definitely not going to just play that. I think I'll drop down Halgar Constrictor, make sure to save the red mana up for Spikefield Hazard. That'll give my +1/+1 counter creatures Menace. Grakma's got Menace and Trample. If I send it in, trades off with their 3/3. And I get a 3/3 token. I think I just can wait a bit. Got a pretty beefy late game play if I can just make it to that. Ooh, they have double Menace. Which doesn't actually do anything more than regular Menace. Just have to double block them like normal. Alright, passing turn. 1 mana from kicking Skyclave Sentinel now. I think we're just waiting for that. Just wait for the Skyclave Sentinel and have that get in for 4 a turn and be very hard to block with Flying and Menace. That's 100% the game plan. Let's go. Hopefully no removal from them, but at least worst case scenario, if they do remove it, Grakma does at least get his +1/+1 counter. They've kicked their 3/3 Flying Lifelink. Okay. So if I... 3/3 Flying Lifelink actually wins the race, doesn't it? Yeah, they basically only take 1 a turn from me, and I take 3 a turn from them. Because they're gaining 3 every time. That feels bad. I guess I pass. Just hold up the Sentinel as a blocker. What is this? They're gonna trade up with a... Oh, it's got Menace! Ah, that's so disgusting. Actually, just gonna lose to that. This card... Okay, it's 6 mana. I thought it was 1 mana for the 1/1 Flying Lifelink. If it was, that card would be insane. Oh, I just have a bunch of lands. I think this is another loss here. I need a way to deal with the flyer, I just don't have one. Or I could alternatively deal with both of their Halgar Constrictors, but I feel like it'd be harder to draw a way to do that than to just draw 1 removal spell. Alright, oh. Maybe I am playing a bit much lands with the amount of flip lands that I have. Oops. That's not the play. Maybe that's the play? I feel like that's not. I have a 3/3 and 2 2/2s. They have a 3/3 and 2 2/2s. I guess 2 of my things have Menace, though. but they're at 18, so I'm not exactly sneaking in for any damage. Spikefield Hazard, I guess, makes that more likely to be the play just because I can trade 2 into the 3. Got 3 cards in hand now, 9 mana total. Wondering what they're... Oh, a Rabid Bite? I don't have anything that can stop that in any way. That just happens. At least I get my 3/3 token. Dreadworm. That is an actual card, but it does not kill the flyer, so it doesn't help a whole lot, but that gives me something to start attacking with every turn at least. I can actually just start attacking with this token too then. They double block this token with both their 2/2s, that's absolutely fantastic. Okay, we're just going to trade 3/3s, or are they going to sacrifice one of the 2/2s? I'm very surprised with that. I guess they do... Yeah, they do draw a card off of that as well. We'll put them into a really hard position where they have to sacrifice another or lose this creature. I would be so surprised. What, did they just... They have to have just drawn a removal spell for my Sentinel. Otherwise, this play makes no sense. That sucks. I found a way to get rid of both of the things that were giving it menace, but the fact that both are dead means they definitely have something to deal with my flyer then. They wouldn't have done that otherwise. What is this? Enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever one or more... Oh, if it was kicked, it enters with 3 +1/+1s on it. Whenever one or more are put on a creature control, they can put it on top of their library. And there's the removal spell, so I am tremendously dead. I'm actually just going to take 8 this turn because they also have a Kite Sail, giving that 5/5 flying, and I'm down to 3. That's hilarious. I've got another Skyclave Sentinel. But our opponent has 2 flyers, so I do just take lethal damage, even with a chonky flying blocker there. So is that 3 losses yet? Or is that just the 2? That is going to be the 3 losses. 3 wins and 3 losses. Pretty average run for my first ever Zendikar Rising draft, so not bad at all. I would definitely say it did feel like I got a bit flooded in a lot of the games, even with the amount of double face cards that I had, so I probably should have cut even more lands. That would be the biggest thing that I thought about my deck. I don't think the mana was that awful. I did have a lot of ways to search for lands for my deck. I did end up having to mulligan a lot of openers though. So the mana was definitely rocky. I mean, it was a 3-color deck in draft. But overall, I had a really fun time. I did really like the flip cards with the lands and everything. So if you enjoyed that video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All of the goodies, and I will be back again very soon with some more Magic Arena content. I will actually be back tomorrow with another draft that was recorded in the Zendikar Rising Early Access event. So once again, thank you all for watching, and thank you to Wizards of the Coast for allowing me to join in this event via the Content Creator Program. So as always, I'm just reiterating myself now. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.